Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
Welcome to the Rock Interview. I'm thrilled to have on platinum certified country artist, singer, songwriter, and guitarist, Cassadee Pope. Thanks for coming on the Rock Interview.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Well, congratulations on this brand new album that came out last week. And I was telling you before we started the interview, Cassadee, I love these tracks from Rise and Shine, and what a brand new approach for you with more of the acoustic angle of this.
Yeah, it was kind of a happy accident. I was thinking, gosh, I wanted to go into the studio this year for a full band record, and all of the COVID-19 stuff just sort of made me take a step back and be like, well, I can't do that, but what can I do that would sound good and have an interesting approach that I've never taken before. And I was actually talking with my mom and sister and my boyfriend one night at the house, and they were like, why don't you do an acoustic record? I was like an album? They're like, yeah, you have enough songs. And I just started listening to demos and realizing, yeah, I actually have songs that I love that I've always wanted to release. And fast forward to now, I think it's kind of reflective of where we are in the world. Like, there's not a lot of distractions with, how we're living. We can't go out all the time. We can't hang out with our friends all the time. And I feel like the music kind of reflects that, because there's not a lot of frills. It's just acoustic and vocals. So yeah, it just kind of came about in a really interesting, organic way.
Well, also, I got to brag on you some. You were involved in the writing of every one of these songs, and you were also the co-producer of the entire album, right?
Yeah, it was funny because I do a lot of the same that I've done with this record for the past records, but I just had the courage to ask for the credit this time. But yeah, it was really fun. Todd and I, Todd Lombardo, the guitarist and producer, he and I did a lot remotely. So we were doing FaceTime all the time, and he was showing me, his take on the songs. I told him the direction. I gave him the weirdest references like Dashboard Confessional and Jimmy Eat World. And he was like, okay, I can look into that. And he just nailed it. And so, yeah, I think the co-producing thing was more of, me really having a vision for the record and wanting it to sound a certain way and sort of helping guide him as he was creating these sounds.
It is such an interesting evolution of your musical career too, Cassadee, to where, coming up through, you were playing in more like rock and roll bands and everything like that. And then obviously, winning The Voice, Team Blake. But then your albums, the number of hit songs you had in such a short span of time. And even last year with, playing on the CMT, Next Women of Country. And, NASCAR, it's like, you've had a lot of big things going on. And so I think it's so, I was so thrilled, when they sent me the tracks to take a listen to your new music, to where it's like, I can still hear the influences from so many of the bands that you grew up listening to and were affected by. But, also, you played on the 2018 Warped Tour, the only female country artist to do that. You've had a lot of big things going on.
Yeah, that time in my life where I was in Hey Monday and I did the pop rock thing for a few years, that is such a monumental thing for me. I wouldn't have gotten on The Voice without Hey Monday. They found me from that band. They scouted me out. So without that band, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here in my career. So, and it's always been a huge part of my sound and my influence. I grew up listening to country music and learned to sing on country music. And my family listened to it. But then also my parents were like 80s classic rock kids, and they loved Journey and Boston, and they were playing all that stuff in the house too. So I grew up with a really eclectic collection of songs and genres that I grew up with. So it's made its way into my music now. So with this record, I was thinking, where I wanted to go with the full band record eventually is more pop rock country, but to really lean into that more. So I felt like this acoustic record, the reason it was really intentional, the sound, I wanted it to be kind of a preview of what's to come. So it's funny, I didn't mean for it to happen that way, but I was like, oh, I'll take this opportunity to sort of ease people into my next direction for the full band record.
Well, and you and I were talking to where, I think that this layout, and I love an album to where you can hear the guitar strings, and you know, and you know, even in Let It Go, I think I heard a little mandolin and stuff like that. But it really lets your voice shine. And like I mentioned to you, Cassie, you've got to be confident of your talent and of your voice and of the lyrics to be able to put yourself out there, because it's like there's no layering, there's no distortion, no drum, no, you know, it's you.
Yeah, and that was something when choosing the songs which I wanted to put on the record, I was really thinking about too, because there are so many songs that I've written that I'm like, oh, this is so catchy and fun, but a lot of it's leaning on the production to be good, and I'm not saying, you know, that that's a bad thing, but yeah, some of my favorite songs that get on the radio, I just think that the production's what makes it amazing, and these songs they don't have that luxury. So I was like, okay, I need to pick songs that I love lyrically, that I feel like I can really showcase my vocals on, and that translate really well acoustic. So, and then I also, just speaking about my vocals, I spent a lot of time with Todd on picking the right microphone. I know I said that to you earlier. But I haven't done before. It's sort of been like, this is a great mic, let's try this. And then I just record a record on it. And, you know, I realized that acoustic, you obviously are heard much clearer and you're much more up front. So I thought that we need to spend some time on this. And I also I sang way more takes than I usually do, because I wanted it to be full takes, and I didn't want it to sound like copied and pasted. And that, of course, takes time to get that right. And I've never sang these songs live, so that's another thing. The comfortability level, I had to really sing them and get more and more comfortable with them in order to get, you know, the product that it is, like the more raw, vulnerable sound that it has.
But it kind of feels, you're so comfortable with the lyrics and your voice, it feels autobiographical, but also that is serious producer stuff when you're choosing microphones and you're getting down to that. I mean, that's the real deal, Cassadee.
Yeah, I felt kind of cool. I was like, this sounds a little warm, so let's go. Yeah, this is a little brighter. I think that, and obviously I had like complete, what's that syndrome where you think imposter syndrome. I was like, do I really hear the difference, or am I making myself hear the difference? But I think Todd and I were seeing eye to eye on, you know, which microphone is best for my voice. I have a pretty bright, clear tone, and so I kind of need a little bit of grit in the microphone and a little bit of warmth to kind of balance it out. So he and I thankfully agreed on the microphone, and I just love the way it sounds.
Oh, I'm telling you what, I mean, your voice is so pure and on pitch with this album, and I know, you know, bragging on you earlier with the hit songs you've had in the past few years and everything like that, you know, so many great #1 hits. This is my favorite album of yours, just because I love it, the way it's stripped down with the acoustic in your voice with Rise and Shine. I think you're going to get some hits out of this one as well.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks. I mean, it's one of the first records. I'm just surprised to hear that, because it's one of the first bodies of work that I released with, like, I usually have a little anxiety around releasing music. That's just normal. But this one I released with, I don't want to say zero expectation, but just my goal for this record is for people to listen to it and feel like they've been given the permission to let out their emotions and whatever they're feeling right now, because it's such a complicated time in the world. And I know everybody's dealing with COVID and, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement differently. Everybody's handling it differently, and I know that it's a heavy time. So a lot of these songs are heavy and emotional, and I hope they aid people into, you know, releasing whatever they have going on and maybe they've been holding in. But and then, you know, there's the love songs and happy songs that help you stitch you back up together again. But my goal for this wasn't, you know, I hope that I sell, you know, millions of it. I hope that I get a #1 out of it. It actually is the first time that I've released a record where I don't have those, not expectations, but those wishes. Like I'm like, if that happens, great. But I didn't write these songs or do this record for those things to happen. It's really just like a human record. Like, I just want people to feel when they listen to it, you know?
But I think that's also, you know, Cassie, why it feels so honest. You know what I mean? I think when you don't have those expectations, and you're not, going into the studio. It's like, okay, Cassie, you had this many number ones, you did all this stuff. What are we going to do? It's like, do you think that it gives you that creative freedom to be the deeper you?
Yeah, it does. I mean, there was something really, when you don't have that pressure on yourself, you really can allow yourself to just be more spontaneous with it, and instead of asking why won't this work, let's think of all the reasons it's not going to work. It's like, well, why not? Why not do a song on the record that's an old Hey Monday song and reimagine it and make it sound different. Why not do the whole album acoustic? Why not have a song like Let Me Go where I don't have any harmonies until the very end of the song? And so it's just a lot of you just have less chains around you and less things to keep you, like less boundaries and things to keep you thinking, well, why won't it work? Because it's just, there's less pressure around it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's incredible. I want to make sure too for our viewers, Cassie, with your website, social media and everything, I know you're going to have more virtual tours, compared to the huge tours you've done in the past with Maren Morris, Tim McGraw and Dierks Bentley, and hopefully we get back to those in the near future. But you're going to be doing more virtual stuff. Where should our viewers go to keep up with everything you're doing, and especially with Rise and Shine?
I've been doing, like when I have a couple of songs released here and there up until the release of the album, I was doing the virtual release parties, which were really fun through Looped, an app called Looped. And then I also, after that, I was doing virtual meet and greets on Looped. So that was really fun for the VIP ticket holders for the show. So I'll continue to do those, but you can find out about all of that on my website, CassadeePope.com. I'm on Instagram. I've got the blue check mark on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So be careful with that stuff. And I'm always posting about updates on that. But I will definitely be doing more virtual shows because I miss touring and I miss the fans. And I don't know the next time I'll be able to go on an actual tour. So the virtual stuff is a good placeholder.
Well, I'll tell you what, congratulations on the release of your brand new album last week, Rise and Shine. Cassadee Pope, thank you so much for coming on the Rock Interview, and looking forward to more great music and more singles coming off this album.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.